On June 24th, Japan Ground Self-Defense Force JGSDF announced that it had conducted its first ever test of the Type 88 surface-to-ship short-range missile on Japanese soil. This exercise marks a significant milestone, highlighting Japan's accelerated military buildup, with a clear focus on countering threats from the People's Liberation Army Navy. According to officials, the missile test took place at Jeonsu Air Defense Range in Hokkaido, Japan's northernmost main island. Approximately 300 soldiers from the 1st Artillery Regiment participated, using a practice missile to target a drone vessel located about 40 kilometers off the southern coast of Hokkaido. The Type 88 missile has a range of about 100 kilometers, and its specific design and range make it highly impactful in the region. Due to space and safety concerns, Japan had previously conducted missile tests in the territories of its military allies, the United States and Australia. Analysts suggest that this missile test sends a strong message. Japan is working toward building a more independent military system, preparing to address maritime threats from the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, with an offensive posture. One expert noted, "In the seas surrounding Japan, North Korea's weak navy is negligible, and South Korea, along with Japan, is a U.S. ally, making military confrontation unlikely. While Japan has territorial disputes with Russia over the northern territories, these are mainly political issues, and Japan has no motivation to initiate conflict with Russia. Therefore, besides China, there is no significant maritime threat to Japan." Anti-ship missiles are considered highly targeted weapons, and Japan's first ever test of its domestically developed missile on home soil suggests that it has completed all necessary tests and is ready for combat deployment. The strategic intent behind this is clear. Japan is preparing for potential conflict in the face of maritime threats from the CCP. Under Article 9 of the Constitution of Japan, commonly referred to as the Pacifist Constitution, the country is only allowed to use military force in self-defense. However, in 2022, Japan introduced a 5-year security strategy, marking a significant shift in its defense posture. This strategy identifies the CCP as the primary strategic challenge and emphasizes strengthening the Japan-US alliance. The Pacifist Constitution re-announces war, forbids the maintenance of armed forces, and prohibits Japan from engaging in international conflicts. This clause, crafted under U.S. guidance after World War II, has been a symbol of Japan's post-war identity and international image. Since the Constitution's implementation in 1947, Japan has not formally amended any articles. However, the government has often expanded the particular scope of the Constitution through imperative amendments, especially regarding Article 9's renunciation of war and the right to maintain armed forces. For example, in 2015, then Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe passed the Legislation for Peace and Security, which legalized collective self-defense, allowing Japan to assist its allies in defense if they were attacked. This was seen as a significant reinterpretation of the Constitution and sparked both domestic and international controversy, with some even claiming that it violated the Constitution. In light of escalating geopolitical tensions, Japan is now working to deploy long-range cruise missiles, including the U.S.-purchased Tomahawk missiles, with deployment expected later this year. Japan is also developing the Type 12 surface-to-ship missile, which has a range of approximately 1,000 kilometers, 10 times that of the Type 88 missile. Developed by Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, the Type 88 missile has a range of about 100 kilometers. Furthermore, Japan plans to construct a missile testing range on the uninhabited Minami Torishima, also known as Marcus Island, in the far East Pacific. Reports indicate that earlier this month, 2 Chinese aircraft carriers conducted operations near the island. A 2021 report highlighted Japan's cautious approach to national defense, deliberately avoiding the term military to describe its forces. Japan spends billions of dollars annually to maintain a stockpile of nearly 1,000 aircraft, dozens of destroyers, and submarines. The same report noted that Japan's military power is comparable to that of the UK and France, and the country shows no signs of slowing down in acquiring the best available weapons systems. Military analysts have pointed out that since 2000, Following China's economic boom, the CCP has heavily invested in its navy, with its strategic objectives becoming increasingly clear. Not only does the CCP aim to annex Taiwan forcibly, but it also seeks to claim the entire South China Sea as its internal lake, challenging the international order and reshaping the geopolitical landscape of East Asia. This aggressive military expansion not only keeps Taiwan under the constant threat of war, but also forces neighboring countries such as Japan and South Korea to accelerate their military developments to counter potential aggression. In contrast to the CCP's showy displays of military power, Japan has pursued military modernization in a more understated and pragmatic manner. Despite constitutional restrictions, Japan has steadily advanced its defense reforms, strengthening its naval and air forces, missile defense capabilities, and cyber warfare skills, while deepening military cooperation with allies such as the United States. Japan's defense focus is on quality and technology, rather than merely increasing numbers, creating a quiet but effective deterrent force. As the CCP's threats become more pressing, East Asia is entering a silent but intense arms race. Japan's military power is not only keeping pace, but is increasingly showcasing its strength. Naval power. Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force currently operates 4 helicopter destroyers, which are essentially light aircraft carriers. These include 2 Izumo-class destroyers, each with a displacement of 27,000 tons, and 2 Hyuga-class destroyers, each with a displacement of 19,000 tons. The Izumo-class ships have been modified to carry F-35B stealth fighter jets, allowing them to function as light aircraft carriers. These ships are equipped with advanced command and control systems, anti-aircraft, and anti-submarine capabilities, making them highly effective for both command operations and large helicopter deployments. The JGSDF also operates 36 active destroyers. This includes 4 Kongo-class destroyers, which feature a 90-cell vertical launch system, VLS, and have a displacement of 9,500 tons. There are 2 Atago-class destroyers, each equipped with a 96-cell VLS and a displacement of 10,000 tons, as well as 2 Maya-class destroyers, each with a 96-cell VLS and a displacement of 10,250 tons. These destroyers are equipped with Aegis combat systems, ballistic missile defense capabilities, and sophisticated sonar systems, making them highly capable in both defensive and offensive operations at sea. Together they form a powerful and flexible maritime force. Recently, at the International Defense Exhibition held in Abu Dhabi, Japan unveiled a model of its most powerful non-aircraft carrier warship, the ASEV destroyer, with a length of 190 meters and a width of 25 meters. It has a full displacement of 20,000 tons and is equipped with a 128 VLS cells. Foreign media reports suggest that this ship surpasses all current destroyers in terms of capability. The Japanese Ministry of Defense emphasizes that the performance of the ASEV destroyer equals or exceeds the most advanced Aegis ships. Japan plans to build 2 of these ships, with the first expected to be operational by March 2028. When the ASEV destroyers join Japan's fleet, they will enhance the nation's naval power, making it the strongest in Asia. In addition to these, the Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force operates 8 Mogami-class freights, with more under construction. These freights have a full displacement of around 5,500 tons and are equipped with advanced missile systems, including 2 8-cell Mark 41 VLS systems, 4 17-type anti-ship missile launchers, and C-RAM close-in weapon systems. They also support aerial and unmanned systems for enhanced operational capabilities. Air Force power. Japan Air Defense Force currently operates about 1,480 aircraft, including over 300 4th and 5th generation fighter jets. Among these are the 156 F-15Js, 91 F-2s, and 31 F-35As, with the F-35A being rapidly deployed in bulk. Japan's F-15Js and F-35s are equipped with AAM-4B medium-range radar-guided missiles and AAM-5 infrared-guided missiles, giving them one of the few active-array radar missile capabilities in the world, significantly enhancing their long and medium-range combat effectiveness. The F-35 is widely considered a top-tier fifth-generation fighter, with overall performance far superior to China's J-20 and J-35. Would the Japanese self-defense force and the Chinese military go to war? What would the outcome be? Let's first compare the naval and air force of both sides. The People's Liberation Army Navy, PLA Navy, claims to be the second largest in the world, with about 370 surface ships and submarines, making it the largest fleet by number of ships globally. The total tonnage of the CCP's naval fleet has surpassed 2 million tons, second only to the U.S. Navy. Despite having more ships than the U.S. Navy, the Chinese fleet is widely considered to be far behind in terms of quality and technological capabilities, even when compared to Japan's naval forces. Earlier this year, Russian International Affairs Council published a report titled China 2049, a futurological analysis, which sparked discussions about the gap between the naval powers of China and the U.S. According to the report, while the PLA Navy has made advances in equipment and technology, including 3 aircraft carriers, 48 destroyers, and 11 amphibious ships, it still lags by more than 20 years behind the U.S. Navy. The report predicts that it will not be until 2049 that the PLA Navy could achieve partially with the U.S. Navy. The report also highlighted that undersea warfare remains a weakness for the PLA Navy. The PLA Navy still has much room for improvement in anti-submarine technology and equipment, with a particular insufficient number of high-performance anti-submarine helicopters. Analysts have pointed out that the 3 Chinese aircraft carriers each have critical flaws, making them unlikely to survive in actual combat. China's Liaoning and Shandong, one being a refurbished Soviet aircraft cruiser and the other an indigenously built carrier modeled on Soviet designs, both have outdated designs, weak propulsion and material strength, as well as insufficient number of aircraft that cannot fully operate. These 2 carriers have seen more as symbolic achievements for the CCP, intended to build confidence in the country's aircraft carrier deployment. However, their combat capabilities are only about 30% of what has been publicly claimed, far inferior to the U.S. Navy's Nimitz class aircraft carriers. China's 3rd aircraft carrier, the Fujian, while designed with a flat deck and electromagnetic catapults similar to the U.S. carriers, still has significant flaws. To reduce technical risks and shorten construction and testing periods, China borrowed many of the designs and technologies from Liaoning and Shandong, including using steam turbines for propulsion and only 2 aircraft lifts. Fujian's most significant flaw is its propulsion system. Given its large size and increased aircraft capacity, it requires a tremendous amount of electricity, which causes a significant strain on its power systems, limiting its mobility and speed. Fujian also lacks nuclear power, a major disadvantage. While China has nuclear-powered submarines, they are only about 10,000 tons, which is far too small to propel any aircraft carrier. The use of steam turbines for propulsion means that the Fujian must rely on heavy oil, causing the fuel weight to exceed a quarter of the total displacement, severely limiting its operational range and speed. Thus, the Fujian frequently needs to refuel after just a few days of operation, with a long refueling process, which hampers its operational flexibility. Previously, the Liaoning and Shandong often had to stay in one area for several days after arriving, both for training and to refuel. The Fujian aircraft carrier does not have nuclear-powered propulsion, which is a significant shortcoming. While China has nuclear-powered submarines, they weigh only about 10,000 tons. This amount of power is insufficient to propel any aircraft carrier. Currently, Fujian uses steam turbines, which indicates that China's nuclear propulsion technology is still not a viable solution for its carriers. There are also doubts about Fujian's electromagnetic catapult capabilities. While it has been confirmed that the catapult can launch heavy objects when docked, this was likely done with external power sources. It's still unproven whether the catapult can perform effectively during high-speed operations at sea, relying on the steam turbines for power. The true combat strength of an aircraft carrier comes not from the ship itself, but from the aircraft wing it carries, which includes stealth and multi-role fighter jets. In this area, the gap between China and the United States is significant. China's carrier-based aircraft are still in their early stages, with only the J-15 currently in use. However, the J-15 is an outdated design, heavy and bulky, with strong radar reflections that hinder long-range operations. When compared to the U.S. Super Hornet FA-18EF, the J-15 falls far behind in terms of technological performance. The more advanced U.S. F-35 carrier-based jets have a clear advantage. When China continues to claim that its land-based Dongfeng missiles are carrier killers and could pose a threat to the U.S. and its allies, these ballistic missiles require high-precision satellite targeting and ability to break through advanced anti-air systems. However, China's rocket force has been plagued by corruption, with some missile fuel being reported as watered down. Such issues raise serious doubts about how these weapons would perform in real combat. The Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force is widely regarded as one of the top forces in the world. Many military experts place it at the top 3 to 5 globally. Although Japan does not have official aircraft carriers, its 2 Izumo-class helicopter carriers, which can each carry 12 F-35 fighter jets, are considered superior in overall capability to China's 3 symbolic aircraft carriers. In terms of Air Force power, China's Air Force operates 3,144 aircraft, including 1,705 main combat jets. However, older second-generation aircraft like the J-7 and J-8 still make up a large proportion of its fleet. In terms of airborne, early warning, and air support, China's Air Force lags behind the U.S. and Japan's Air Force. The Chinese J-12 and J-35 fifth-generation fighters have yet to undergo real combat training, and many experts believe their actual performance is inferior to the U.S. F-17V. In the event of a combat, China's outdated aircraft would struggle to convert their numerical advantage into battlefield success. Japan's naval and air forces would decisively outmatch China's military. Regarding whether Japan will go to war with China over Taiwan, in an exclusive interview, Shigeru Kitamaru, Japan's former Secretary General of the National Security Secretariat, stated that Japan's laws permit collective self-defense in situations that threaten the country's survival. If Taiwan's situation were deemed a crisis threatening Japan's existence, the Japanese self-defense forces would respond accordingly. Kitamaru mentioned former Prime Minister Abe once said, "If Taiwan is in trouble, Japan is in trouble." This is based on this legal framework. As a country with U.S. military bases, Japan would inevitably be affected by any sudden developments in Taiwan, even if U.S. actions are still unclear. Taiwan's proximity to Japan has prompted Japan to strengthen its self-defense forces in the southwestern islands, signaling Japan's recognition of rising tensions in the region. Kitamaru explained, "This strategic adjustment is aimed at maintaining peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait. This policy shift is not recent. When I was still the Secretary General, we were already moving in this direction. In recent years, as China has grown increasingly militaristic, it has expanded its weaponry. However, this has also led to strong countermeasures from neighboring countries. For example, China's much-promoted Fujian aircraft carrier still faces several technical shortcomings, and its combat effectiveness remains questionable. At best, it's just another aircraft carrier, but its presence has certainly raised alarms in the U.S. and East Asia." In response, the U.S. Congress has fast-tracked funding for the construction of the Ford-class aircraft carriers. South Korea also aims to strengthen its surface strike capabilities, building several Aegis-equipped destroyers and planning to develop a large-scale aircraft carrier. In 2021, South Korea's Hyundai Group proposed a 50,000-ton aircraft carrier project. Besides countering North Korea's threat, a major objective is to address China's military expansion. As China expands its military influence, Japan finds its restrictions gradually lifting. The U.S. is increasingly open to Japan's military developments, with nearly full approval for the weapons Japan wants to build. China's relentless external expansion has effectively awakened Japan, one of its strongest regional adversaries. Former Prime Minister Abe laid the legal groundwork for Japan to enter the war if Taiwan is attacked. and this stance has made Japan a target of China's ire. In recent years, Japan's position on Taiwan has become increasingly clear and public. If the Chinese military were to invade Taiwan, Japan would not hesitate to declare war on China, driven by its survival interests. It's possible Japan would even act before the U.S. responds. In cooperation with the U.S. military, a U.S.-Japan joint force would secure a decisive victory.